Perfect. We're live. Cool. So lots of awesome comments already. This is super cool. I love everybody who's sharing what they're going to use it for. That's super amazing. I'm so happy that everybody's really pumped up about that. How this call will go is essentially we're going to end up covering various Facebook ad topics, whether it's about your Facebook ads, creative audiences, anything you're having any issues with, or if you want to talk about, the product that you're wanting to launch, what you're wanting to do with it, or if you're wanting to go over landing pages, anything you specifically want to cover, just feel free to go ahead and ask your questions, and we'll start going through those. And also, just to mention this, we're doing a giveaway on the actual Mac. So if you do want to enter to win, all you have to do is just follow the steps in the actual description below, like the video, leave a comment for what you're going to use the Mac for, and just complete those steps. And we're going to announce the winner on Friday. So that way everybody knows. All right. Well, cool. Let's go ahead and get started. If you have any questions, just go ahead and feel free to ask right away. Anybody have any questions they'd like to ask? Have you got any recommendations for advertising towards home decor? Nikolai? Yeah, absolutely. There's tons of recommendations there. For one, you want to focus on your bestseller with the ads in itself, like promoting the number one bestseller, sending them to the best landing page that you have for that specific product. And specifically in the home decor business, if you're referring to paintings, um, specifically with that, it's very important that, in the past, we found that with running ads with anything to do with canvas art, any of that stuff like this, people don't actually, uh, there's lots of click through rates. There's lots of people who hit the site, but there's a lot less purchases and they have really low conversion rates. So the best thing you can do is actually making sure that you have the measurements and have it very simple to actually put it next to something so people understand the size of it. Most people aren't able to truly understand, like, even with measurements, how it's going to look on their wall or where they're going to put it. So it's always nice to put something next to it, like, size it up next to a couch or size it up next to a car. There's various things you can do to actually like illustrate the point of like the sizing of the actual content itself. So if you are selling anything related to that in the home decor area, that's super important to focus on because that'll lift your conversion rates almost immediately. And then how you come up with an angle for creatives and copy. Yeah, absolutely. So we cover this a lot in our class, but we come up with creatives and copy a lot of the times just by going to Facebook success stories. We're big believers in, modeling what's already worked in the past rather than really reinventing the wheel. It's not really necessary. There's probably about an advertiser for every industry that there's out there. So there's always going to be something that's already worked. And then you're really just looking to model what's working and then improve on it from there. Um, Same thing with how Tesla is. They ended up taking the Tesla engine, how it worked, and then they just made it a lot better. So same thing with Facebook ads. We're just looking for a really good ad and we're looking to turn it into a really great ad. So go to Facebook Business Success Stories. Highly recommend it. Instagram ad case studies. Those are always good. You can read, see the ads that are being ran, find one that's in your industry, and then model it to a T. So that way you can actually, build on it from there and improve your return on ad spend. Love your videos, Chase. I have a few ad sets and 2 ABO campaigns. ABO stands for ad set budget optimization that have a profitable return on ad spend for 5 days now on low spend, $5 each ad set. What are the next steps for scaling? Dupe and make it a CBO? No need to duplicate. You can actually just flip it over to a CBO right now. Just make the switch. It's not going to be an issue because you likely haven't had 50 conversions alone. So there's nothing to worry about. Just switch it over to CBO. You'll see better performance. So that's what I would do, Vijay. And thanks for loving the videos. Put it to $20 a day, then 50, then 20% every 3 days. Looks like Jonathan's sharing some insights as well. Any advice you give to local businesses? What's going on, Tariq, during COVID? Have your clients found investing in advertising challenging to keep them in the game and prospering? Yeah, for local businesses, it is tough because I mean, like, there has been a big impact on that. So I mean, like, local businesses are struggling. They, the ad budgets are much lower than they were previously, and they're already having to balance enough as it is, dealing just with like state governments and stuff like that, which is a big problem in itself. So I mean, it really depends on where they're located. I mean, like it, it's all going to depend on location for what their actual laws allow. But with running ads, I mean, like it's going to be super important to focus on really good, um, you know, creative and copy that focuses on the story about caring, making sure people valued in the community. Because the story is going to be everything in times like these. People just want to be able to connect with humans. So it's going to be really important to really lean heavily on like the reason they started as a business and all of those things. So people actually like feel for them. I'd like to use my Mac to build my personal brand. Nice. I'm launching a new business very soon. I've learned a lot from your videos. Thanks. Awesome. Thank you. What's your view on budgets after Christmas and the start of the new year? I think it's going to be incredible. I mean, the beginning of the year is like the most exciting time for us advertisers because all of the people that are running ads right now, half of them are gone, or more than half of them drop off because they're simply here for Q4 only. And once they're gone, it's like an open playing field and the competition is way less, and you can literally just like end up getting an incredible amount of results. So yeah, I'm super bummed about the beginning of next year because lots of results happen. We've seen even better performance after Christmas for some ad accounts. So it's really interesting to see, just given how much of a role all these advertisers really do play in this. And then you said, since I expect return on ad spend to drop outside of the holidays, do you usually keep budgets the same or do you scale up or down? Yeah, so I mean, like we'd probably definitely scale down without a doubt, just to get things more efficient. Because there's going to be less buying intent. But the thing is you're going to have a much higher return on ad spend. You're going to have a much more efficient running campaign because once you hit January, you're really just looking to create evergreen campaigns, which are essentially campaigns that can run year round, and just get really efficient at improving minor tweaks on the audiences, improving minor tweaks on the ads, making little adjustments to your landing page, and looking to use that as like a building ground to improve everything across your ads as a whole. Because this time, next year, if you use all of that time and, apply all of the data and actually learn from, that period, you're going to be way more structured and set up for success the next go around. And you'll have a much higher chance of converting way more than you did the previous year. So it's definitely going to be a good time to, use that as a way to actually add some stability and get all of the, build on it from there. And then Yash said, if would like to run ads for lead generation. So should we go for lead generation campaign or conversion campaign? So out of these two campaigns, in which one we will get low cost per click and high ROI? Well, I mean, it depends because you would definitely likely see a lower cost per click with lead generation because it's on Facebook's platform. They want you to stay on the platform. They're definitely going to favor those ads. Now, the downside to that is the data and tracking all of that. You don't get to send them to the pixel. You don't get all that extra, information and stuff that you can have on your site and other things that happen thereafter. And then the high ROI, I mean, both of them could result in a high return on investment. It just totally depends on the strategy there. But I mean, like, if you're using UTMs to optimize, I would definitely do so because that's how you're going to figure out your high ROI. With lead generation, URL parameters and UTMs are probably the most important aspect, which are essentially just tracking metrics that you track based off which ad somebody comes from. And that'll tell you exactly which one's giving you the highest return on investment. And that's really important to actually look into. And then Macy, I have a local client for psychotherapist, or I don't know what that says. 600K city, okay. Should I just target the whole city with one audience? Tried to retarget video views, but haven't got any result from it. Yeah, that makes sense. You should definitely target the whole city because it's only 600,000 people and you're already going to be competing with local advertisers. So if you make your audience any smaller, it's going to get worse. If anything, just target the entire city and really focus on your creatives, your messaging, and anything to do with local. It's always about story, local stories. That's a super big thing to remember. It's not like the offer, that's not the main driver. It's the story because it's people in the area that are going to see that business. Focusing on the brand name, all of those things. It makes a huge difference. What's up, Chase? Really grateful for the knowledge you share with us. Thank you. Currently running my business in my parents' basement, and the Mac would be great to help scale ads and grow the brand. Awesome. I wish you the best of luck. Christopher Kyle. If I'm running 10 campaigns with multiple ad sets with the same audiences and ad sets in each campaign, what's the best way to prevent audience overlap? Well, you should just consolidate. Doing that alone is not, that is the result of you having audience overlap. That's the problem. You should definitely get away from doing that for sure. I would just, focus. I wouldn't even duplicate the same audience twice at all because you're going to be competing against yourself. You're raising your own bids up. It's just not good. James. Hi, Chase. I was already subscribed to your channel and just followed you on the other platforms. I'd love to be considered for the Mac. Awesome. And if everybody doesn't already know, you can submit into the giveaway just below. Just follow the steps. Do you have any tips about running a lead gen campaign for an insurance broker who wants to offer free consults? Yeah, absolutely. You should definitely mention the free consults in the ad. If you're going to be running a lead gen, have different ad variations to begin with. You can actually put text in the ad. Facebook's not worried about text overlays anymore. You can actually just have that. So you can literally have, in bold letters, the free consult there. So yeah, that would just be the approach to begin with. Hi, Chase. Thanks for your value. What do you recommend to someone with very small ad budget? Jill. $20 a day. So if you're going to do $20 a day, definitely do micro budgeting on your ad sets, $5 a day a piece. You could do $15 towards cold, $5 towards retargeting. That's probably going to be the best structure for you. And cold as in prospecting, going after new audiences, and that $15 broken across 3 different audiences. And if you're just starting out, then you'd likely just go with interest. But if you have data on your pixel, then you would go with lookalikes always. Dennis, hi Chase. How do I increase add to cart and then conversions? The ad set is generating hundreds of product views with no conversions. Okay, so there's a couple of things you can do for that. If you're getting a lot of product views, you're getting a lot of add to carts, there might be something wrong with the funnel potentially with them not converting. It could be a pricing issue. It could be like your shipping. It really just depends on what's actually what the offer is, what the product is, or what the specific situation is. We know if shipping's taking longer than 2 days, and that's going to be an issue. If the pricing is way above average compared to other products, that's going to be an issue. You need to make sure that it's actually competitively priced. And then if your page is loading way too slow, that could be an issue. There's a lot of different factors that play into it. The best thing to do is to start looking to make sure that those things are all in place. And then if you are optimizing for the purchase event, then you need to make sure that you're testing multiple audiences and switching up your creatives to really find something that's going to work. But without further context, I wouldn't really be able to tell you exactly what it'd be. But of course, if you're in the class, I'd be able to immediately know just by seeing on your screen. What date do you usually see most of these extra advertisers in Q4 gone? Right after Christmas, most of them drop off. Most of them will start dropping off a little bit before Christmas Eve, just given that they're just closing up because they've either ran out of inventory or they're just not going to be shipping or vice versa. So yeah, right after Christmas, I'd definitely say after December 25th, you'll see a big wave of advertisers just drop. And if you just look at the spending charts, Q1 is always the lowest spend. Q2, it's like a perfect step each quarter. So, Q1 is a huge opportunity for most advertisers because you don't have to worry too much about competition. It's an open playing field. And, it's not like everybody just drops off the social media platforms in Q1. So it's perfect opportunity to go in. What day do you usually see most? Okay, yeah. It's a pre-order product. Oh, that could be it. Pre-order. Yeah, that's definitely a reason there. If people are having to pre-order it, that's friction in itself. Unless it's a product that you do like launches or you ran out or, at certain situations like that, it might work. But other than that, I mean, it just ends up adding in friction. At what point does it make sense to scale horizontally instead of vertically? The moment that vertically just isn't working, you should start to go, horizontal in the sense of adding new audiences in. The advantages of each approach vertically is going to allow you to continue to scale without having to manage more. If you can get an audience that you only have to worry about one audience and you're constantly scaling that one, that is so amazing because it saves you so much time. You don't have to do anything because the audience is running on its own. You're just scaling it. And it's really just poke your head in there, look maybe once a day for like 5 minutes, and that's it. Now, the advantage of scaling horizontally, you might have a better return on ad spend because you're going after a lot of audiences with little spend, which gets you, more return on ad spend potentially. But at the same time, you're managing a lot more, and it could be overwhelming. And looking at all these different audiences, ad sets, and all these things can, you can miss stuff, and it could actually impact your ROAS negatively because if you're managing too much, then there can be oversights, there can be mistakes, and when you have to launch new ads, you have to launch them in all. So, I mean, they both have their advantages and disadvantages, but I would use a combination of both just to really see how it works with you. How do you think ecom will change in 2021? What aspects should we focus on? Everything without a doubt is going to data, your internal data. We've been working so hard on developing um, data methods and storing data, warehousing, and all this like stuff that we just don't even cover on YouTube because it's so techie stuff. But it's exactly where the industry is going, and we're just like putting the infrastructure in place so that way when this wave does happen, like it's already shifting. But when there's a major shift that happens and everybody like wakes up and is like, okay, yeah, this data stuff is a serious thing, we're gonna have all the processes in place to start sharing those insights on what steps to be taken. So right now it's about storing your data, putting it, actually naming it correctly, naming your ads correctly, naming your audiences correctly, having that data go to a CRM or go to your data warehousing, having it all be stored somewhere that you can access outside of Facebook because you don't want your data in these platforms. You need to get the data out. You need to be using all of that, switching to URL parameters, updating your tracking to be API based, not pixel based. You got to get away from the Facebook pixel. You got to switch over to API conversion tracking. You need to get all of your platforms to integrate. That's where the industry is going. It's happening right now. And, there's going to be a monumental shift here, in the next couple of months. For sure, people are going to start noticing, like, what are all these people doing? And it's going to be a shift because these big companies are pulling back, all these open, like, restrictions to where it's actually, like, getting all locked in and privacy is becoming a huge deal. Like, they're hitting Facebook with it. They're hitting Twitter with it. Privacy is, like, number one now. Totally respect it. Totally should respect it. Nobody wants their information just floating around there. So that's a good thing for the people, but for businesses, it makes it all more important to start learning how to store data and gather data and use that appropriately because you're going to have less access to learn from things. There's going to be less audiences. There's going to be less stuff altogether. So that's where the industry, without a doubt, is going for e-commerce and just any business as a whole. Online is going to be super big in terms of understanding those numbers and how you're going to use that to actually make sense of it. Right now, like people on Facebook will use interest audiences or the lookalikes of their pixel. And that's like really where the line gets drawn. But like that's one fifth of what you can do. There's so much more the moment you actually learn how to work with data and actually model it, use it. There's audiences that you'd totally be amazed by that you didn't even know you could target, all because of these things. So yeah, that's where it's going. So anytime you can, just start understanding how those things are going to start working because the advertisers who get on that are going to have huge success. They're going to get some of the best results, and they're not going to be prone to these shifts. We've always been big proponents of staying ahead of and being innovative on that front. Because with algorithm changes and with big updates or when governments come in and start moving things around, you don't want to be left out open in the waters with your undies down. So you got to make sure that you have all of these things under control, so when stuff does happen, you're just set up for success. Dennis, be sure to like everyone. Yeah, absolutely, be sure to like. Without a doubt, I will tell you I did this next live call because I really wanted to help everybody out and because I got so much likes on the last video, and it really showed that everybody did like it. So here we are. The Mac would help me. Everything start a business right now for free. Tough when I have an old laptop, can't run anything smoothly. What do you do when an ad set becomes learning limited? Do you duplicate it or change the settings in the ad set directly? Yeah, that's a good question. With learning limited, I'm sure a lot of you have ad sets in learning limited. The best thing to do there is simply either increase your budget to exit. Now, if you don't have a lot of purchases in the last, 7 days, then don't increase your budget because it probably won't really do much for you, um, because you don't have enough to exit to begin with, and it would probably take you way too much to scale, and it just wouldn't make sense financially. So you can consolidate. That's the other option. The third option is finding an audience that's going to convert more and get more purchases so you can exit. Really one of those three. Otherwise, being stuck in learning limited, it just, impacts performance and you just don't get as much results. How often on average in your experience should ad creatives be changed? You know, it's it's interesting because with ad creatives, it's like you either get it on the first try and you get an ad that can run a full year and like converts across the board, or it could take you 50 tries and you're like 6 months deep with all these creatives and finally get something that'll stay. We try to get creatives that'll at least last, um, more than a month. Otherwise, it's just kind of, overwhelming to constantly have to relaunch ads. But, you know, we've seen people launching ads on a weekly basis and seeing awesome conversions. We've seen people that have ads that have been running years round, just because they were, they did it so well the first go around. It all just depends. And, there's no right frequency. Every business is different. It's just a matter of being able to understand your metrics, your numbers, and knowing when you actually do need to make a creative shift. Most people don't even realize when they need to make a creative change. And it's totally dependent on your internal metrics and knowing what that frequency is that you need to shift out creatives. And once you find out what that is, you're going to unlock a huge key to being able to get a lot of results. Thanks for doing this giveaway. Yeah, absolutely. I know 2020 has been a tough year. We've had a lot of people really enjoying the content and having a lot of love and success here. So I really just wanted to, say thanks for everybody who's helped me out as well, and just show some appreciation and give back. Christopher, when planning to launch a new product a week out, would you run a reach campaign to your audience or conversion campaign? Yeah, we just go straight for a conversion campaign. I wouldn't worry about reach, anything like that, unless you're a corporation or a conglomerate. Really, reach doesn't make any sense because it's not going to have a big enough impact for you. With Fortune 100 businesses, we do awareness campaigns and stuff like that because there's such a large budget behind it that it actually makes sense because you can actually move people through that process. Where it's like the awareness phase in Facebook, and then it shows you the intent column, and then it shows you the conversion column. But when you're a business, the last thing you need to worry about is awareness or intent. The first thing you need to worry about is getting conversions, getting it to run properly, successfully, and then using that to then build those other pipelines. Most people think you have to start at the beginning, like, how they have it structured. You don't have to. You just need to go straight for conversions. And then as your business gets bigger, you're then able to move into those other sectors. But, when you split your dollars across all three, it's like you're chasing too many things at once. You just need to master the first one, and then you can start to get into the other buckets. Chase, I'm looking for a co-founder for facebookads.org or fbads.org. Okay. Great. Chase with the heat. Thanks, Tariq. Kyle followed, like, and subscribe. Awesome. Yeah, Christopher. That's great. Also, when an ad set is learning limited based on budget, how much can you increase the budget by? Well, I mean, like it's still in learning limited. So I mean, it doesn't really matter at that point. It'll reset the learning phase if it's above 20% without a doubt. But I mean, like if you even increase it past it, it's not like, you're going to be preventing yourself from ever exiting learning because you probably aren't anyways, which is why it's in learning limited. So, there are some exceptions there. If by chance your Facebook ad account gets disabled, which advertising platform do you recommend for us to use while we're waiting for our Facebook account to be reinstated? Yeah, so I mean, like that's another thing. It depends once again there. It could, it could be Google, it could be YouTube, it could be TikTok, Snapchat. Um, it really just depends on, which platform you understand the most, and then uh, how many, how advanced their actual advertising platform is and what you can actually get done there. As long as you're making advantage of the URL parameters, you can have a lot of success there. Um, so that's just the most important piece altogether. And then just making sure that, whichever platform you do choose to go into in the meantime, uh, that you end up using that data and like building audiences similar to what you're doing on Facebook. So, for instance, if you're doing lookalikes on Facebook, make sure that you have all the tracking codes from like Google and stuff, because that way you're filling up the same audience buckets and you can create those lookalikes that were, very similar to the other ones as well, which is really important, because that way you can get something that converts similarly. Do you separate your CBO lookalikes, interest audiences, and control winners, or have them all in one CBO campaign? Yeah, we do separate them, Alex. How can I learn this kind of data analysis? In our Facebook ads expert mastery class, we focus on data tremendously. A huge portion, almost all of the modules really in there are focused on data and analysis, because that's what's going to give you the actual insights and like that actual vision into understanding your metrics. It's not like a strategy of like, oh, you should do this with Facebook ads, because that stuff doesn't ever stick. The algorithms can change and that's going to be gone the next day. We focus on analytics because data doesn't lie. It's number based. You can actually make sense of it. And as soon as you can learn how to read data, is the moment you can make decisions without having to refer to anybody, without having to even ask another question. You can just look at the numbers and they're honest. They'll tell you what you need to do. And we teach that in our Facebook ads expert mastery class. So if you go to chasechappell.com, you go to our course section, and as soon as you scroll to the bottom, it'll give you the pricing options that you can choose from and get access to that too. Since there are lower conversion rates in the Canvas space, what ROAS do you think could be achieved in an optimized account? Once again, it depends. I mean, it depends on, the Canvas art you're selling. It depends on the audience for it. It depends on, so many different factors that are, really there. Uh, So I mean, like a ROAS could be anywhere between a 2 and a 20x. It really all depends, because if you have upsells or if you have, afterpay where they're able to pay for it over time, there's a lot of different things you can do to actually increase that return on ad spend. So, email recovery, email add to carts, SMS, those are going to make big differences in getting those results without a doubt. I'd love to win the MacBook. Awesome. Cool. I hope that you have a good chance of winning it as well. I have a 2 GB RAM Windows laptop and I open business account in 25 seconds. Oh, wow. That is a long time. I need that MacBook really bad. Okay. Is it necessary to judge any ad copy after it gets 3,000 impressions? Yeah, that's a good number to follow by, but I'd also, look at the conversions, how many, conversions it has, how many purchases or leads, whichever one you're optimizing for, and seeing what that result is in comparison to the other ads that you're running, and make a judgment based off of that. If you run ads to the website from Snapchat or TikTok, is there a way to retarget those people separately on Facebook and not with all the other website visitors? Yes, 100% there is, and that is a highly recommended approach. I mean, that is a big difference. You want to segment your TikTok audiences in Facebook. You want to segment your Snapchat audiences in Facebook, because TikTok's going to send you so much traffic. You're going to think it's a heyday, but there's nobody converting. Now, what you got to do is you don't want to destroy your lookalikes or destroy your retargeting on Facebook because it was once converting. So you need to make separate buckets to actually get that to convert. And how you do that is you place URL parameters, and then you can go into Facebook audiences and say, build a retargeting custom audience based off last 30-day visitors from TikTok. And so you can actually retarget the people who specifically came from TikTok, specifically came from Snapchat, and so forth. So that's where I'd focus on doing that. Done. All I need. Mac. Fire, fire, fire emoji, heart eyes, boom emoji, sweaty laughy face. Cool. Thank you. I run an online shop and made 300 purchases this month. Congratulations. My Facebook ads targeted by interest or lookalike were okay, but never great. but no target were outperforming. That makes sense. How can this be on a new pixel? How can this be on a new pixel? Oh, well, I mean, it's probably given that all of the audiences you're targeting are just already being in a lot of competition, which is why the open, if I'm reading that correctly, is performing better. It would make sense because you're not having to worry about competition so much in that case. So it makes your performance a lot better, Ali. And how can I max this out? By scaling it. Yeah, without a doubt, scale it up. Alex thinks, why do you separate LAL interest control? We do that because we focus on data once again. We even get so specific with naming conventions and stuff like that because we do a lot of reporting in our class to actually make sense of the metrics. We build out, chart analysis and stuff that actually allows you to dive deep down. Like we look to shave off little, percentages any given day or any given week to actually improve performance. Like if you're getting a 12x return on ad spend and you're thrilled, great. We're gonna try to get it to a 14. We're gonna keep pushing the bar, and there's always something you can do to get a thin layer, of improvement. And as long as you're doing that, you're always making huge progress. And even if you're spending $10,000 and making back 100K, there might even be an opportunity to spend $5,000 and make 100K still. So saving you an extra 5 grand just by optimizing through efficiencies and shaving down your cost. So that's why we do those things, because not just because it's bucketed and it works, well, which it does already just by doing it that way, because the, algorithm learns easier because it's using those buckets, but strictly because we actually have a big backend system that we leverage off of that and, charting out the analysis and the data aspect of it, which is super important. And, it's the next tier of what we do outside of it. So everybody who's following that model, it's going to help you, but there's a big piece of that actually goes with it once you actually get in the class and learn that method. By the way, if you haven't already, make sure to like this video. It means a lot to me. It tells me that you're enjoying this, if you're finding any value at all. And if you didn't already know, we're doing a Mac giveaway, so just look at the description, follow steps, and you could win a Mac. It's possible. And if this gets a ton of likes and people really love this, there might be more stuff to come. I just don't know. The more people who are excited about this, the more comments, the more engagement, the more it tells me that, hey, people are enjoying it. So I'm constantly going to find ways that I can, share back because of that. Hello from Scotland. Hello. Would an audience of 20 million ever get exhausted if my budget is 100 a day? It depends what your CPM cost is. If you're paying $1 to reach 1,000 people, well, then you're reaching 100,000 people a day. That then puts you at, you'd pretty much reach 1 million in 10 days. You would then, just calculate what that is their fourth. So, that ends up adding about 200 days. So you'd max out that audience in about 200 days. So that's how just run your CPMs, do the math. We have a formula for calculating it, but that's just a simple breakdown there. That'll let you know if you're going to max it out or if you overexhausted it. What is the best option for shipping with drop shipping? That's probably a question for the chat. I don't really understand if that's a Facebook ad question or if that's something to do with inventory management. I'm no expert in that at all. We have people who are really good at it, who are really great at that stuff. So I'm sure somebody here could end up, giving some advice there. Is it a great idea to invest in growing your fan page and market directly to your fans? No, not necessarily. I think that investing in it depends in what sense. Not from running ads. I don't believe so. If anything, your community is going to be growing through, getting them to share photos of your product, getting people to engage with it, joining your group, and fostering a good community, making people feel like they're actually cared. That's going to be important because it's going to help build your fan page as a whole because people feel like they're part of the brand. That's a good long-term strategy. So that's definitely important. But getting likes and stuff like that, that's not going to do anything. It's a matter of getting actual core likes that are true, honest, and real. That's going to make the biggest difference. What's your best advice for somebody looking to optimize their Facebook ads for a cheaper cost per action? So the best way to do that is through cutting ads, cutting audiences, and just raising your standards. We have a formula that we follow for cutting, and it's very specific in what metrics we look at and what number it is in order to make that decision on cutting. So the best advice is really just through optimization. That's the quickest way to lower your cost. Or if you're lucky and you develop an ad that is really good, that can lower it as well. Just because it's a great ad, it would naturally do that. What conversion window do you typically use? 7-day, 1-day view, 7-day click, 1-day click, 1-day click / view. And does this depend on the type of product being sold? Yes, it does depend on the product. It also depends on the amount of conversions. It depends on a lot of factors. 7-day click is going to get you the most data, and it's going to give you the biggest window for getting that data. Now, if you sell a product that's, say, a dollar, and you're getting about 50 or more of those a day, then you should do 1-day click because that's all you need, because people are converting within a day and you're already getting 50 conversions in a day. The moment you're getting 50 conversions a day, you can switch to 1-day click and it's fine, because then the algorithm's just going to optimize based off that 1-day click worth of data. Runs a lot more smoothly. You don't even have to worry about the 7-day click aspect. What do you do when you've exhausted your best lookalike? Well, you could launch a new creative in there, or you could end up creating a new audience. Or if you've exhausted a 1%, make it a 2%. If you exhausted a 2%, keep going up as fourth. I'm currently spending 7.5 to 9K per month on Facebook with decent ROAS every Q4. Thanks for the additional tips through your videos. Yeah, absolutely. Are custom conversions better? No, custom conversions are not better. If you're asking about, like, if you're setting up a custom conversion, like based off of like a landing page somebody hit and that's your optimization event, they're not better because they're not sending great data. Standard events are going to be good because you're sending the right data. Or if you put in a custom conversion or an actual advanced event through the pixel, that's going to be good because you can control what parameters. And sometimes advanced events are way better than standard because you can place parameters in them and send a lot more data. For everybody who doesn't understand what that means, I know it's tech, but it's like you can send email, name, phone number, street address, and all that through like button clicks, believe it or not. So if you end up learning how to do the advanced events, you can get a lot more and improve your audiences. You can improve your data and make a huge impact on your results. I'm looking for coaching or one-on-one advice on my account to see where I can improve. Do you recommend scheduling a one-on-one hour call with you several times per year, or do you recommend joining the class? Join the class. Our 1-hour calls are moving up to $1,000 a piece. Now they're going to be $1,000 for 1 hour or $500 for 30 minutes, just because of a time restriction. And just because I've gotten so good at communicating the value in just a short amount of time that I'm finding that the 1-hour calls aren't even as necessary as they once been. So the fees are going up. But if you end up joining the class for 1,000, you're going to get 8 or 10 calls over, just paying for one. So the value there, it's a no-brainer option to go into the class at that point. I mean, it's either one call for 1,000 or it's, 8 to 10 calls for 1,000. So, and you're getting a course, and you're getting a private group, and you're getting all these extra modules, and you're getting every formula and, data method that we use for analyzing and charting and doing all that stuff. Like the type of stuff that would blow your mind. If you're achieving like a, 7 or 5x or 3x on your own, like you would be amazed the moment you can actually use these types of methods, because your results would just go to the next level and you'd be like, I didn't even know 10x plus was achievable. Hello, subscribed a while back. Great. I've tested multiple interests for baby dresses, but my cost per action, my CPA is too high and ROAS is 0.8. Please suggest something. It depends on who you're targeting with your audience in a lot of cases, and it also depends on the creative you're using. You might want to use the actual product creative and going to the actual landing page. The other thing is the audience. Most people get duped into like targeting like parents or something, but realistically, you got to think about grandparents. You got to think about friends and family who are buying as well, which makes a big difference. Yep, targeting newly married ones. Yeah. Alec, how are you? Thank you. What's the best way to test creatives? Yeah, so some of the best way to test creatives is by simply create different variations. Don't do like, one small tweak per ad. First, just like make super different ad creatives, like test a video, test an image, test a carousel, switch it all up, and then find out what's going to work from there. That's when you make your minor tweaks and adjustments moving forward. And that's really going to get you the best result. By the way, everybody, if you really are enjoying this video, please do give it a like. It does mean a lot. It does tell me. And we are doing a giveaway. If you do want to win a Mac, just go ahead and follow the steps below, and you might have a chance of winning it. Was going to say I subscribed a while back, and you're one of the few people who actually provide. Oh, you're only one of the few people who actually provide some insight and valuable things on Facebook ads. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. How much budget should you might have to finish that question. Do you recommend dynamic content for testing? Some people do that. We don't really recommend it that way. We recommend maybe dynamic for retargeting and stuff like that. That's where it makes sense to do so. Or if you have, say, rotating inventory that's always switching, or you have, say, thousands of products, then it's okay to do dynamic. So there's very specific instances where you do stuff like that. It all just depends. How much budget should you use for interest in lookalike testing? It depends on your budget. It really does. I mean, like you could start at 5 daily for every audience, and then whatever your budget is, you just divide that by that and get the number. If it's, if you have $5 per ad set and you have 100 daily budget, you could get away with, targeting 20 ad sets, 10 in interest, 10 in lookalikes. And that would do it. All right. So cool. If there are any other questions, feel free to ask. By the way, if you do like the video, once again, please do give it a like. Okay, well, that was fast. When testing new creative, should this be added to an existing ad set and campaign or different? So that's a good question. We have a lot of different ways that we go about it, depending on, once again, the data. If you've exited learning, that's one way where you can get away with it. Another thing is just testing, in a different audience with new creatives just to see if they're working before you put them in your current ones, because you don't want to disturb it unless you know they work. Those are the main ways we do it. Another way is like testing it and retargeting and so forth. I have to test a lot of ads, have tons of sales and data, but my lookalikes rarely perform well at the 1%, 2%, 5% range. When I go to 10%, I get better results. Is there something I'm missing? Yeah. Here's what's happening. All the Facebook reps are telling advertisers who have 1%, hey, you need to go ahead and try 2% whenever it's working. So everybody's first thing they do is, we're going to go from a 1% to a 2%, or they'll go from a 1 to a 3 or 1 to a 5. Most people don't jump to the 10. They don't go 1 to 10. Now, this is where the advantage comes into play. Since everybody's moving up one step at a time, you don't have to follow this order. This is not a rule. So you can literally skip all of those percentages, go straight to 10%, and see phenomenal results because less competition, more audience targeting, the algorithm runs better, it flows a lot more seamlessly, you get a lot more insights, you can convert way more, and you're going to see incredible results at a 10% versus a smaller percent. So it makes sense. And sometimes it doesn't work. The times that it doesn't work, it's because you don't have enough data and you switch to 10% too early. So as long as you balance those two lines, you can find out from this insight alone, that'll make a huge difference. And is why you're seeing that happen. And why those two, 1 to 5% range is because everybody's stepping into that bucket. So there's a lot more overlap that's happening. Hi, hello. I tried Lookalike Audience and it did not perform as well as the new creative one. Any idea on this? I tried Lookalike Audience and it did not perform as well as the new creative one. Any idea on this? I don't think I understand the question there. Maybe rephrase it. Before totally cutting an ad set, do you individually cut the badly performing ads inside, or do you cut the ad set? So yeah, there's definitely a process for this that we do in our class. You should definitely check out how that works. We have a very specific protocol. We go there in how we actually make it, profitable, make it convert. So it's definitely a highly effective method in that case. So I'd definitely go check that out. For lookalike 1 to 2%, 2 to 5%, 5 to 10% works better. No, we don't do it that way. We would just end up making, either 1%. If you do the 2%, it's not 1 to 2. It's just 0 to 2. And then you just turn off the 1. Now, if you launch a 5%, a 0 to 5%, then you're turning off anything that's a smaller percentage below it. That's the rule. For local business, you said target the whole city. Should I at any point create lookalikes or any other audience? No, there's nothing to create there. Audience would be too small. Is useless given the small initial. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You should just focus on city at that point, just the entire city as a whole. And then retargeting, that's going to be another thing. Those are the two audiences you would have. Lots of great questions. Lots of good reasons for why everybody should win the Mac. I'm super excited about that. We are announcing it. Yeah, no problem at all. So if somebody is already achieving a 3 or a 4, your course is guaranteed to help them improve this. There's no guarantee ever, just given that you have to do, these things on your own. But I can say without a doubt, everybody who actually gets in does improve their results across the board. I mean, it's a given. Like, no matter what, you're going to be able to find low hanging fruit, and just learning our methods from data and analysis, you're going to have such a better arsenal of understanding what to cut, what to keep, what to scale, and you're going to make better decisions. So like, you could be getting a 3 to 5, and like have tons of little mistakes that you don't even like really realize are adding up, and could, be the thing that's holding you from that 5 to 7. So without a doubt, we see huge improvements. If you go to our course page on the, on my site, and you scroll down, there's a section that says like recent client results, and it'll show you the time frame that they took. And most of them say like 3 days, 7 days, 5 days, 30 days. It's like huge jumps in ROAS, because we find out immediately, like there's usually one thing that they can change, and the ROAS just goes from here to here. It's incredible how many times people miss stuff. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, we could definitely, I'm not going to guarantee, we can't guarantee anything, but without a doubt, people see improvements. At what point do you cut an ad set? Is it when it falls below your break even? Once again, that is a formula that we, proprietarily put together that you could have access to in the class. It's a very specific, process that we follow. It removes all emotions. You don't even have to think about it. You just look at the number. And if it spits out at this, then you're like, okay, cut. If it spits out at that, then you're like, oh, okay, perfect, scale or keep. And then literally just following that, you're not going to have to worry about anything, because you're just, staying in those boundaries, and you're being navigating, and you're just going to see your ROAS going like this. You're going to see your amount spent either staying at the same, and you're going to see your purchases going up following it. It's really cool. When you consider an audience or creative a win or loss, we have another formula for that. I know I keep saying this, but there's not like this is it. One thing. It's like, plugging in the numbers and making it a winner or a loser. The quickest way to know is just like, the obvious indicator is like when you have an ad that has a lot of purchases, a really high return on ad spend, and the other ad has a lot of spend, no purchases, and no return on ad spend. That's the most obvious one for anybody to notice. So that's what I would look off of. Anything else is when we're talking about like, a dollar difference or like pennies difference, we go to looking at analysis and data to say, okay, we're, only a few dollars in between what's actually converting best and what's not. Because when you add it up at scale across all your audiences, a dollar difference across 50 creatives is going to be a huge impact on your bottom line, because you're talking about the daily spend, you're talking about, weeks at a time, and then you realize that there's a huge portion of budget that's going to something that's not converting as well. Even though it looks so close to the other one, it might be like a 0.2 off in ROAS, but you're keeping it, but you don't even notice until you actually see the data. Like, holy smokes, there is like $5,000 to $10,000 that if we had put it in this other creative, we would have achieved an insane amount of results, rather than just keeping this ad that was only a 0.2 lower. It actually gets that specific, and these things do add up. But it's hard to notice, because when you're looking at each individual ad set and looking at ads, you're like, oh, it's only a dollar difference, I'm not going to worry about it. Multiply that across everything else, it adds up quickly. Shall you use lowest cost or big cost? Lowest cost in the beginning, big cost the moment you have consistent results. You mentioned tracking ads with API instead of Pixel. Do I need a lot of technical knowledge to implement this? At the moment, I would have to say yes. In a couple of months, no. It's going to be so easy here pretty soon that API is going to be like as easy as setting up the Pixel. Pixel's still complicated for a few people. That's okay. But it's going to get easier. But it's going to require some technical knowledge. You need to know how to implement. Sometimes it's easy as just knowing an API key and just pasting it. Other times you have to, add in the code. You have to make sure it maps back and the data is then sending the parameters and you have the set of events. Sometimes it's just a one-to-one. Others, it's like you have to do a couple of steps that end up getting kind of complicated. Would Lookalike works on local restaurant ad with potential reach just under 1 million? Yeah, potentially. It just depends. I would focus on story with restaurants. And then we ran a campaign with a restaurant with about 18 locations. And we focused on sending people to the app to redeem a free meal. And when they go to the app, we gain the email. We get them on the app. They could then join the loyalty program. We could then follow up with them SMS, email, and the app, all notifications, guaranteed, hook. Then they got the free meal. Then they got the 50% off the next one. The third time they ate there was like they're locked in on the meals and now they're coming back constantly because you can get people there. Like most people will steal an offer, they'll run, or eat there once just because they want to clip their coupon. But if you can get them to like come more than 3 times, you got them because they're going to stay, they're going to come back, or the next time they're driving and they want something to eat, that might be the place that they're going to stop at. So that was the best approach for us. If they don't have an app, you could do with emails. If they don't have an email list, then you got to get creative without a doubt. My Pixel doesn't track about 30% of my Shopify website visitors. That is exactly what I'm talking about when we talk about API tracking, because the Pixel doesn't track jack smack at all anymore. That Pixel is just no good these days. It's just not tracking anything. It's not reporting things correctly. There's so many times, like even when client reporting, that like the numbers are off because you clearly can tell Facebook's generating a huge portion of sales, and there's no other thing you can attribute this portion that's grown on the Shopify to. So obviously the Pixel is missing a huge piece of it, which is why you got to switch over tracking. And then you also need to be doing UTM, URL parameter tracking, so you can fill the gap, get it one-to-one, use that extra data. Because think about it, if you're missing 30%, you're also missing 30% of data. You're also missing 30% less being attributed to your audiences. That 30% could be the difference between you exiting learning and dropping your cost by another 20%. That could be the difference between you being able to scale further and not being able to scale. 30% is the entire reason why you could be missing, an extra 2x on top of your current 5x. 30% is the difference between success and non-success, and that is a huge deal. Absolutely. So you have to end up making a lot of shifts to get to that point. Yeah. Once again, if you have an ad blocker, if people use ad blockers, the Pixel's not picking it up. API doesn't care if you have an ad blocker, doesn't care if you have a VPN, it doesn't matter what you have. You could throw your phone in space, it's still going to get you. Which niches do you find most profitable at the moment? No, I mean, any niche can be profitable. I mean, arts and crafts, it could be, as long as you have a good brand and you have a good product and you're getting really serious about it, you can make any niche work. But usually like the hobby type niches are really good because they're cult-like in a sense of having a really heavy following and people that are really religious about it, which is nice. So like Etsy type audiences, in the sense of like what categories they have, super like close niches are always nice, and they're always end up generating a lot of results. Thanks for the time. What would you suggest if I had profitable ad set when I tried to scale, let's say base by increasing budget or dumping into CBO, and they stop working like no sales for 3 to 4 days? Yeah, so if you tried to scale it and then it didn't work, you could definitely try, switching to a CBO. I wouldn't duplicate it. Maybe give it 7 days instead of 3 to 4, so that way it gets out of that period. Facebook got sued with 2 lawsuits for sending fraud ad traffic. Yeah, doesn't surprise me they get sued for a lot of things. How do you reduce spam submissions from your lead forms that you create Facebook ads for? The best way to do that is to either ask more questions up front, and also have actual follow-ups with those where you're constantly reaching out. And if you don't send them to lead forms and you send them to a site, you could use a software that pings to make sure their email is real or pings to make sure their phone's real. So that way you don't get dubious, alias names that people are just dropping on you. Thanks for adding me to the Facebook group. Yeah, absolutely. By the way, if nobody knows about this, if you go to Facebook and type in Facebook ad experts, we have a Facebook group for anybody who follows the YouTube. You can join that group, and there's a big community there as well. And also, if you are liking this video, please give it a like. That does tell me that you do like it. The last one got over 100, and that was really surprising to me. So I ended up doing another one of these, and with 2020 being as crazy as it is, we're giving away a Mac as well. So if you haven't already, following the steps below, they're super easy to do, and all of those places are going to give you value as well. All of this stuff's just to give back purely. How do you reduce spam? Okay, we did that one. Big cap campaign is running well, but not hitting anywhere near estimated reach. How do you recommend trying to scale? So it's tricky because those things, they're going to have lower reach because Facebook's only trying to show it to people who it thinks is going to convert. So you're going to have much lower reach. The only way you're going to get that up is if you have, maybe another campaign that's not big cap that's pushing up the results and allows the algorithm to then realize, hey, you've been, building some more intent over here, and it can find more people and reach in that sense. Or just raising your overall big cap a little bit higher than it is. Maybe like trying to go up an extra 1% and see what the difference is. Jace, when you're running a worldwide campaign, do you cut poor performing geos manually, or do you leave it to the algorithm? It's a good question because, to answer that, yes, we do cut poor performing geos without a doubt. And then we do leave it to the algorithm once we find out which ones work. If you get down from, worldwide and you end up getting down to about 10 countries, or you get down to 50 countries, then you leave it to go from there. But you keep narrowing and narrowing and narrowing from worldwide until you get that set that's converting. Then you leave it to go on its own. How do you determine which recordings from your class end up being posted to YouTube? None of our recordings in our modules have ever been released on YouTube. We've never had any recording ever released on YouTube. They're all members only videos. Now there's calls that are being released on here that we've given out from the weekly calls. And then a lot of those are one-on-one calls that have just been released. So we determine based off who it allows us to release those recordings. And because some people request privacy, we work with a lot of big names that just don't want their stuff being released. That's totally fine. And, we support that privacy, so that doesn't get released. And there's a ton of stuff that we never release. So, in our class, there's a lot of content that just has never been seen before because it's purely members only content, because it talks about the specifics. It gives you the breakdowns. It shows you, individually. It's not like a video of somebody being consulted with. It's an actual module that shows you step by step. Here's what to do. Here's the formula to follow. And you can take these notes down and then go look in your ad account and then run the math on all of them and make all the changes and use that religiously moving forward, because that's going to guide you straight ahead. Lookalike 0, good for, yes, suggest. I wouldn't do it that way at all. I would just do, one or the other, either like 1% or 5%. Just you choose one of those, and whichever one you choose, you turn off the other. Do you divide up retargeting audiences and cold audiences? Absolutely. You always separate those without a doubt. Do you believe in duplicating profitable ad sets 3 to 5 times? No. I don't know who came up with this. I don't know where this keeps coming from. I keep seeing this happen. This is like the most insane thing I've ever heard. Duplicating things. It's like everything Facebook goes against with audience overlap. Then you have bid competition. It makes these things so constricted in terms of results. And even though you might see good return on ad spend by doing that, it takes away an enormous amount from the audience in general. The only reason that works so well is because the algorithm on the first to 2 days is off. It's meant to find people who are going to convert. And then once it does, it opens up the audience a little bit more. And then your conversions start to go down, because if those people don't convert, it doesn't, work. But if it gets a couple of purchases, it'll continue to expand, and which is why you'll see good performance than your bad performance. So when you duplicate, you'll see like a tremendous amount of ROAS the first few days. And then it looks like your ROAS is good like 3 more days after, because the average was so high. But that ends up, duping out about like 1 to 2 weeks in, it's like it ends up just crashing. It doesn't go anywhere. Completed all steps for MacBook contest. Yeah, awesome. That's so great. Thank you for sharing all these knowledge and ideas. Yeah, no problem at all. I'm so happy to be able to support people, and hopefully this will go to somebody who really uh, wants it and needs it. I want to win a new Mac because it will give me the Apple Halo, and I'll rock my Facebook ads. Nice. Also, do you target obese individuals? I don't know if I read that correctly. How many creatives should I have in a $5 or $10 ad set? It depends. You can have up to 50. I definitely wouldn't recommend that. But I mean, you could have one, or you could have three, or you could have five, or you could have 10. We have a very specific number we choose in our class, and then we usually narrow it down from there. So I mean, it just depends. I mean, you should launch a couple of creatives, find out what works, and then get down to the one that does. And if we do more than 100 likes on this, if we do more likes on this video than the previous one, then that's just a good indicator for me to know that we should probably keep doing these and continue to support stuff and help out as well. Yeah, many people suggested it's just duplicating. Okay, when sales fall off after Christmas, how long before we start cutting ads and changing budgets? I mean, you should probably start changing ads, because I'm assuming that if you're running an offer, you definitely want to make a switch without a doubt. And changing budgets, yeah, we usually peel back budgets and see more results because we get so efficient, because we're always usually set up so well with that change. We had a client that was like, we should probably stop running ads in January because we sold so much in December that it's probably just not going to work in January. And we don't want to like get a lower ROAS and not get any sales. Then we convinced them to continue running ads into January. They saw more sales. They saw better return on ad spend. And then they said, did we do something wrong in December? But they didn't. It was just that, there's so much competition there that naturally they didn't even know that once competition's gone, you can actually see that much of a jump in results. Did you start your e-com journey with dropshipping? No, I did not start in dropshipping. I don't know anything about dropshipping. I don't know anything about choosing a product, choosing inventory, or anything. I'm not on that side. That's not where my mind goes. I built a couple of successful businesses, but nothing to do with e-commerce as a start. We just work with a lot of e-commerce individuals and building brands in that sense. So yeah. You weren't kidding with the live stream. LOL. Implemented the changes. Yeah, I was not kidding. Michael, this is funny. Michael was asking if we do a live stream in our class again. And I was like, yeah, maybe today. And we ended up doing it. And one more thing to add, we took it to the next level, and now we're giving away a Mac if anybody wants it. Thanks for answering my question. Can I schedule a call with you or someone with your team? Yes. If you go to chasechappell.com/survey, that will put you in contact with somebody on my team. Matt specifically will be able to talk with you about the class. He'll help you identify if it makes sense for you, and what option makes sense for you in terms of pricing, and the steps to do that, and when's a good date for you to get started and stuff like that. When should you use detailed targeting expansion? If you have an audience that's less than 1 million, turn that on. What are your thoughts on running targeted traffic engagement ads to website and retargeting those visitors with purchase ads? What are your thoughts on running targeted traffic and engagement ads to website and retargeting those visitors as purchase ads? I've also heard this strategy before. It works in a lot of cases, but I mean, realistically, if you just stick to conversions, you'll probably likely see a lot more results. CPMs are lower brand familiarity and trust will be higher, more purchases. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, we've done stuff with like an undie company where they're selling underwear, and we had like, a dude walking around shopping in his underwear at like, a grocery store. And like, everybody's like, well, what's this dude doing in his underwear? It calls attention that way because it's like, that is the engagement. It puts your eyes on the actual product. So creative stuff like that works in that sense because you're drawing the attention to that one thing. The problem with that is there's going to be so many laughy faces, so many people like tagging others just as a joke and not really actually caring about it. So when you do the engagement lookalikes, they're not always as well as they could be because there's low quality data there. Chase, another question with your strategy to start structure with low ticket items or preferred CPA. What would be your strategy to start structuring with low ticket items? Okay. Yeah, I mean, same thing. I mean, you just end up testing different audiences, building out your lookalike buckets, building out your retargeting, and going from there. You're the man, Chase. I will be seeing you on the course soon. Awesome, Alex. I'm super excited for it. How to reduce the CPM for conversion campaigns. So that's going to be mainly either building. There's 11 factors that Facebook considers. There's actually 11 stages for how to lower your CPM that Facebook lists. I'm not going to list all 11. I'm just going to list top 3 that are going to make the biggest difference. Increasing your audience size is 1. 2 is getting a better creative. And the third one is having a really good offer. Those are going to make the biggest impact. The rest of them are going to be dependent on other factors like audience overlap, auction competition, and a variety of factors, country, and stuff like that that play into it. How to reduce the high? Okay. I want the MacBook because I'm scaling my business hard right now. I was looking to get some new devices. MacBook will definitely save some money, which I can invest into my business. Awesome. Is it normal for CPMs to be high during this time of year? Absolutely. But not everybody's CPMs are high right now. There's some people paying like dollar CPM still. I know a lot of you probably haven't seen a lighter day of a dollar CPM even in the last year, but it's strictly because the offer once again is going to make the biggest impact on your CPMs by far. But yes, it is normal to see high CPMs for almost every advertiser, just about. I mean, there's a very small select few that it doesn't apply to. But that's just because, they have competitive bids that are just, super hard to compete with. So yeah, I mean, politics stuff that'll happen this year with the election. And then you also had to account for like Facebook's outages and then, all these people running ads this year, COVID hit. Now everybody's online. There's so many things that played into high CPMs this year. All right, if we're going to wrap this up in about 5 minutes, in about 5 to 7 minutes. So make sure to ask any extra questions you have. And also, if you haven't already, make sure to like this video. If we pass 100, we might do another one of these. And then we are giving away the Mac. If you haven't entered in to win, make sure to do so below. Liking the video really lets me know that y'all are finding value in this. I need the MacBook because mine is dying. Awesome. Do you launch PPE beside purchase campaign? Only on a giveaway will you do that. Would love to win. Awesome, James. I hope you do too. Chase, would you recommend working with cost cap from the start? If no, when is better? Cost cap after you find out when your results are consistent. Who is Chase outside of being a Facebook ad expert? You like sports, you watch movies. I've seen every movie known to man. I'm like a religious movie watcher. It's unreal how many movies I watch. I watch a lot of TV. Believe it or not, I really do. But I do it in the late hours because I work 18 hours a day just about. It's absolutely crazy. But I spend a lot of time outside of that. I have every streaming service known to man. We were just doing a trivia with our partner agency. And I got 10 questions wrong at the beginning. And then the next 18 questions were like trivia about like 2020. And like, because I'm like so into, all the relevant stuff that's going on just because of, being as a marketer and also just being, addicted to these streaming services. I ended up getting, all 14 right in a row and then like only missed 4 at the end because I was 14 in a row. So I started I messed up my confidence. So yeah, I mean, that's a big part of what I do outside of Facebook ads. Chase, would you recommend working with cost capped? No. Okay. Yeah. We already answered that one. Missed my question. What was your question? If everything goes fine for conversions after we increase the product cost after the CPP also increases, why is it so? That's interesting because a lot of times whenever we see people raise their product costs, they actually don't see a rise in their cost per purchase. Usually once you have consistent results, you can actually raise your product price and not have to worry about your cost going with it. So you might be doing too much of an increase, or you might already be at that, you might already be walking the line at having too high of a cost product. You seem very honest, bro. Thank you. Thanks for all the knowledge sharing, Chase. May the most needy one get the Mac. Yeah. Lower cost per lead. Lower cost per lead is for message conversion. I don't know what that question is. Which news or blog sites do you use to stay on top of current affairs that may help you with your business? That's an interesting question. There's no specific one that I follow. I mean, I try to look at a lot when reviewing articles online. Um, Mainly sticking to ones that are more about what's going on with big corporations and stuff in that scenario to really learn about that rather than focusing on like small business. It's really interesting to see what's going on with like the bigger corporations, what moves they're making, what plays are going on there, because that really does give a lot of insight into their decision making process, because the people holding those board seats are a lot closer to what's going on, and they have a lot of decision making power, and they're usually very well connected. So those type of people are like usually the first to make the moves, just given because they're getting the insights a lot, faster than most before stuff actually hits, across the board. So it's always a good thing to like follow, all of the big, conglomerates and seeing what, their board is doing, because usually they know it well in advance what's going on, just because, there's a lot of control and power up there. So I mean, anytime I am looking at articles, it's almost always about, big board members and big conglomerates and what's going on with their business and what they're doing, because that dictates a lot of what decision making process you can start to adapt as well. Lower cost per lead. So you mentioned duplicating profitable ad sets multiple times in a campaign. This is not good for the long run. What do you suggest to scale winning ABO ad sets? You can just scale them vertically. Just get them out of learning. That's the thing. Like, you'll see better results. Facebook's ran multiple studies. If you get out of learning, you're going to see better results. Have you worked with an app installs campaign? Yeah, we've had a ton of apps install campaigns going. We've launched successful apps. We've had companies get acquired at our apps. We're currently running one right now that's doing phenomenal with app installs, and we're generating a ton of results. And we end up using a lot of different strategies with not only getting people on the app, but a lot of times people download the app, never log in. So we set up multiple conversion objectives. Like, we get people onto the app, we get people to make sure they're logging in, then we make sure they're being active, then we make sure they're spending money, and then we go after different audience segments and build out with the actual conversions, where we can ensure that people are spending more and more, building out lookalikes in that sense. So yeah, I mean, we use the, once you connect the SDK, there's a lot of different things you can do on the app development side, and tracking parameters and all those different things, without a doubt, is a huge deal. So yeah, there's a lot of experience that we have there, and we've had a lot of cool campaigns there. I would definitely like to see more, individuals who are working on app install campaigns. Auto versus manual, definitely always auto. Gonna have to rewatch this whole live. Good info. Thank you, Chase. You got me hooked with Facebook ads after watching some free resources on your website. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, we have a ton of free resources on our website. If anybody goes to chasechappell.com and then goes to the resource section, we have a lot of resources there that also aren't on YouTube. What is the average cost per install for app install? Oh, that varies. I mean, it could be like 10 cents, 20 cents. It just depends. I mean, app installs are super low cost. But what's important is active users after that. I mean, tons of people install an app, but how many actually use it afterwards is what's important. I'm from Ukraine. I think I should win the Mac because it would be an unforgettable experience to deliver it to me. That's funny. I hope you win it too. And I don't know what the shipping would be like in terms of trying to get it to Ukraine. What's the next live stream, Chase? Well, there's no scheduled one right now, but if we pass more likes than what we did on the last video, if it's more than like 150, I mean, that'd be a very good indicator that we should probably do another one, because people like it. So if we can get the likes up, that'd be great. Thanks for the stream. A new laptop would allow me to be more mobile with my work. I currently own a PC and it is not ideal. Haha. Thanks, Chase. Awesome. Cool. I hope you win it too. Seems like a lot of people need Macs right now. We might just have to get a couple more Macs. No promises, but it definitely sounds like we need to be giving out more of these things. Cool. Well, we're going to pretty much wrap this video up here in the next minute or so. If you haven't already, please do give it a like. And if you haven't entered in for the giveaway for any means, if you want to win a Mac, if you want to win it for a friend, a family member, for whatever reason, if you just want it, it is here for giving back and just supporting, people in 2020 that had a tough year. Um, overall. So yeah, if you want to win that, the instructions are below. If you want to join the Facebook ads class, just go to our course section on my site, chasechappell.com, and you can sign up there and join these calls. We do these types of calls twice a week, every week, except we're sharing screens and going through different formulas and stuff like that. So without a doubt, definitely, do those things. And yeah, more Macs I've entered. If you're running ads for a restaurant, what objective? The example I was giving earlier was app installs or getting people on the app and then at least getting them to stay for 3 times. Or if you don't have that, then email. Yes, sir. Yes, please would love one. Hashtag more Mac. Chase is the man. Thank you. I came from your Facebook ads. Oh, that's awesome. Very cool. We run lots of Facebook ads. I went to win the ads class. We're not giving away the class, but maybe we might do something like that in the future. I don't know. Probably not, because there's a lot of time that goes into that. More Macs. I love a Mac because this is the year been tough at my current computer and I can donate it to my family. Oh yeah, that's awesome. Kissy face. You give me some really great value, Chase. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate that. Are all the calls in your course with you or with people of your team? All of the calls are with me. That's also a big part of where the pricing comes in, is because I spend so much time there. Just doing the calls and going through it with everybody on the call. So yeah, without a doubt, you're not going to have somebody else walking you through the ads. It will be with me. You will get to actually speak with me one-on-one in the class in that sense. So yeah, 100%. The only person that you might speak with that's on my team in the class would be the person you might be asking questions to find out if you want to join the class. That would be the only time. Otherwise, once you're in the class, it's purely with me, and then you have all the recordings, the modules, the formulas, and all that goes with it. Would you test creative or content first? Man, give a class away. No, we probably can't do that because it's there's a lot of time and effort that goes in there. $1 is 76x here in my country. Your course is ... money. Yeah, we've definitely heard that before. It's tough because understanding of different currencies and stuff like that and how the dollar translate to other countries. I totally get that. Maybe there'll be something where we can figure out how that would work. But yeah, cool. I really appreciate everybody joining. I hope you all found some value in this at all. If you did, give a like. I appreciate all of you so much. And we will be announcing who ends up winning this Mac on Friday. So make sure to stay tuned. We'll probably end up posting it across multiple platforms just so that way everybody knows. And then as soon as that happens, what will end up happening is you'll just have to, we'll just have to get a hold of you, direct message, figure out all the shipping and how we're going to get it to you. And there'll be a little bit of paperwork you have to do just to be able to receive it. And then once you do that, you'll be good to go. And if this video does get a lot, I think I'll be open to buying a couple more Macs just to hand them out, because it sounds like people really need them. And, I want to make sure everybody's happy. Is there a good website to build Facebook ad vids with interactive text? We don't have a specific one that we use. There's a lot out there. Some of them, they're obvious. You can tell where they came from. So, I don't know of a good one specifically, but I'm sure somebody in this chat does. So make sure to ask. If you join the group, you can probably ask people in our group. They probably definitely know. There's definitely a greater common knowledge among everybody that I'm sure they'd be happy to share with you where they get their videos from. Cool. All right. That's the end of this stream. Thank you, everybody.